Hello, happy Monday. It is Julie with Balanced Life with Julie, regenerative health practitioner, holistic nutritionist. I have some really amazing goodies that I want to talk about today. I'm going to finish off what I was saying last week about water, hydration. I'm going to share some testing I did. Then I'm going to really touch on what does it actually take to create health within the body. And what are some of my favorite tools and why? And then I'm going to finish off with a little bit of mindset stuff. So last week I was talking about water and the importance of quality water, and I will get into this in the next little bit as well. But in a nutshell, there are certain things that are really important for health. One of them is quality hydration, quality food, and detoxification, I believe, is foundational because we live in such a toxic environment. And if you can address those key elements, and I'll get into that a little bit as I go on with this video, if you can address those, move your body, optimize your sleep, then definitely you're going to be in a pretty good place in terms of creating health. What do I say every single time I go live? I always have to sneeze. I don't know what it is. So last week I was talking about the importance of quality water and hydration. Now, unfortunately, most people don't have access to quality water, or they're essentially drinking dead water. What do I mean by that? So if you're drinking tap water generally has all kinds of contaminants in it, and I'm going to show you that in a moment. So tap water has the metals that get leached into the pipes, along with, there can be pharmaceuticals in there. There can be herbicides or pesticides, depending on where someone is getting their tap water from. And a lot of people have this idea in their mind that RO water is good water to drink because the reverse osmosis process strips all the toxins from the water, but it also strips all the living minerals. And this is where it becomes really problematic. You can't add in minerals at the end of RO and expect that water to become structured. And the water that does best in our body is structured water, and ideally clean water. So I've been testing a new thing called Aqua Vibrance. What this does is it cleans the contaminants from the water, and it also helps to structure the water. So not only does it put the proper minerals into the water and help with the electrolytes within the water, which is going to help in terms of absorption into the body, but it also helps to structure the water. The best water, if you can get your hands on it, is of course spring water. But a lot of times you have to test that water and see if there are any contaminants, because let's face it, all the chemicals that we dump into the environment do find their way into the water systems. And so even if you are someone who has access to well water or spring water, I do highly suggest still testing that water to see if it is actually clean, because at case in point, actually, someone shared this with me yesterday. Apparently there is a spring not that far from where I live. It's up on a ski hill, and people line up to get the spring water. What they conveniently neglect to pay attention to is that all around that area is farms, and they are spraying toxic chemicals into the environment. Where do you think those toxic chemicals are ending up? In the water. So I really do invite you to think very deeply on where you're sourcing your water, where you're sourcing your food, and to ask some deeper questions. And I may probably in the weeks to come do some videos in terms of really talking about what I mean when I talk about food quality and living foods and sourcing foods correctly. Most people spend a lot of money on food, and they're buying the wrong kind of food for their body. And the reason that I can say that with confidence is if you are struggling with a chronic illness, obviously there is something broken in that system in terms of the quality of hydration, the quality of food, as well as the environment that somebody is in, because your body doesn't create an illness for no reason. Obviously, there's something that's not in place. Okay, so let's get to this test. So the test was very simple. I have 4 kinds of water. Like if you looked at my desk, there's actually 4 mason jars sitting in front of me, 4 different kinds of water. And I put the aqua vibrants in each of these waters to see if there are any contaminants that get removed from the water. And so we in our house have a house filter, so we automatically have filtered water and filtered living water, I ought to say, because we don't use a reverse osmosis process and we don't use a distilled water process. We actually have a process in place that keeps the minerals that are supposed to be naturally occurring in the water intact. But why I'm excited about this is going to help to structure that water more deeply. And then I'm going to be utilizing that to make my superfoods for cooking, and all of that fun stuff. And my molecular water, my molecular hydrogen, I'm still going to be making from the filtered water without the drops, just because I want to make sure that the membrane in this bottle stays good. Okay, so I had to go to my neighbor's yesterday to get some water, and this is her tap water. I don't know if you can see it, but there's this little haze at the bottom of the jar, and that's all the contaminants that the drops removed. They get pushed down to the bottom. So this water is actually now clean, and she could drink from the top, or anyone can drink from the top of this water. And actually the way that the drops work, they've been tested for like last 10 years. There's been lots of testing on these particular drops. But even what has been pulled to the bottom is no longer toxic. Okay, so this is just tap water, and obviously there's something in the tap water, and that's why there's this film at the bottom. But she herself uses a Brita filter, and she did say to me, well, you know, it's a couple months old, I probably need to change it. So this is her water from the Brita filter. There's even more stuff in it. So I'm going to message her and say, yeah, definitely change that filter and let's retest that water and see if the Brita actually does anything. But there's even more stuff at the bottom of this mason jar, and there's all this yellowy stuff, which I don't know what that is. But yes, the stuff that is toxic in the water has been pulled to the bottom. This at the top is okay to drink. It's good to drink. It's structured. It's mineralized. It has proper electrolytes. So this upper portion is safe. So normally I know someone who's been using these drops for a while, and what he tells me he does is he drinks from like the top section of the water, and this little bottom section, he just waters his plants with it. So he doesn't let the water go to waste. Now this is our filtered water. So you see that there's nothing at the bottom. Obviously our filter is working, and I'm actually going to use this water to make my superfood shake after I finish this video, because I know this water has like more oxygen content, it has more electrolytes, it has you know, like more structured water. So I'm going to use this to make my superfood shake. And then this, just for fun, because we have a lot of snow here right now, I decided to actually put a bunch of snow into a mason jar and let it melt. And then I put the drops in to test the water. So this upper part of the mason jar, like the water, this is all clean now. And you can see that there's a bunch of sediment at the bottom. And right at the center, if you can, I'm going to tilt the jar, right at the center, you can see like even more stuff. So whatever the process did, it kind of like pulled it all in. And I mean, I'll even like show you, because if I tilt the jar, you can see more of what is at the bottom there, right? It's clearly visible. So the drops work. The drops are amazing. I'm going to tell my neighbor, change your Brita filter and let's retest your water and see if it does better. Otherwise, maybe consider getting a different filter. And this is our water, and there's nothing at the bottom there. So obviously our filter works. Woohoo! All right. So, um, if you go to my iShop Purium link and use the code Balance Your Health, you can get Aqua Vibrance. These are the drops that I use. So even though I filter my water, I'm still going to use my drops for the shakes that I use, for the water that I use to make my superfood shakes. And then I'm going to use our regular filtered, like the filtered water to make my molecular hydrogen. Now, there's two very different processes that are in place. Like, yes, this makes the water more living, it makes it structured, and it's going to be better utilized and absorbed into my body. I have magnets in the base of this bottle, which also helps to structure the water. And because this is filtered water and it has the minerals that are naturally occurring in the water, this is still going to be structured water. It's still going to be utilized and received properly by my body. And the cool thing about this bottle is, besides making molecular hydrogen, besides structuring the water, I can put some frequencies into the water, and that just gives it a little bit extra potency. So I'm going to put energy frequencies into this water for now. So that's how I'm going to be doing water from now on. This whole trying to figure out water has been a 2-year journey in our household. We used to have an RO filter on the house, a reverse osmosis system on the house. And when I found out that RO water is not structured at all, it's essentially dead water. It doesn't really hydrate the cells properly, which means there's not proper nutrient or oxygen absorption going into the cells. Then I was like, okay, well, we need to remove that filter and we need to put in a high carbon filter where the minerals that are naturally occurring in the water are still there, but it's no longer dead water. And then, so that's the water that I work with. And now that I have these drops, I'm going to use the drops, and this is what we're going to do for water from now on. Now, this is something that I spend a fair amount of time thinking about: what creates illness in the body, what creates health in the body. And I honestly would not be looking at this subject at all had I not had my own health. Like, for a couple of reasons, I probably wouldn't have even been looking into this subject at all, because back in 2012, when this whole journey started, I was in the film world. I was writing plays, producing plays, acting on TV shows, and this was the furthest thing from my mind. And it was only after my husband passed away from a heart attack, and he seemingly looked healthy, but obviously he died very, very suddenly, that was what got me thinking about, like, what does it actually what does it actually take to create health in the body? It's not about how someone looks. It's about what is actually going on in the cellular level within someone's body. And then, of course, because of the shock and the trauma of what happened with him, I eventually ended up getting diagnosed with hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's. And I wanted to feel good in my body again. And so, who knew? Back in 2012, when he passed away, and in 2014, when I got diagnosed, I never thought that I would be learning about health at the cell level and trying to help others with their health. I just wanted to get healthy myself. And I went to a lot of different practitioners. I went to multiple different kinds of naturopaths and medical doctors, and I took, medications for years on end. And it was only when it was very, very obvious that I wasn't getting healthier, I was getting sicker, that I finally just got sick and tired of being sick and tired. So I wanted to figure out how to actually create health, right? And so I've been in, regenerative health now. That's kind of the official title I have, is I'm a regenerative health practitioner. I'm a holistic nutritionist, but I really look at health at the cell level. And I really like to think of, like, what are the key elements? What are the fundamentals that everyone needs to be practicing if their desire is to be healthy, right? And over and over and over and over and over again, there are some key things that I believe are really important, right? And these are things that I was not aware of prior to. I was living my life, like I like to say, like a civilian. I was living my life the way everybody around me was living. And honestly, if you're doing life the way everyone is around you is doing, unless you happen to be blessed with a circle of people who actually understand health and vitality and mindset, if you are like the average person and you're doing what everyone around you is doing, you are creating illness in your body. It's just a matter of how and when does it show up, you know? Because most people are on the standard American diet. Most people are eating highly, highly processed foods, or they're eating like some healthy foods and some processed foods. Like I get hundreds of messages every single week. And the number of people that tell me they're eating a healthy diet, and my question automatically is, what do you mean by a healthy diet? What are you actually putting into your body? And then they'll start to list off what they're doing. Like I had a gentleman message me yesterday telling me that he has stomach ulcers. And I said, well, okay, well, what's your diet? It's pretty healthy. I said, okay, well, and so he highlighted for me what he used to eat. He used to eat, he used to start his day with coffee on an empty stomach. And I said, well, no wonder you have stomach issues. That is literally the most acidic thing that you can put into your body on an empty stomach. And now you have stomach ulcers. Interesting, right? So, and if I think back to even my habits 10 years ago, 2015, when I was struggling with hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's, and I had to take medications every single morning, and I wasn't feeling any better, I also started my day with a cup of coffee, sometimes multiple cups of coffee. And guess what? I didn't feel good, right? So it is really, really important for you, whoever you're whenever you happen to see this video, however you manage to stumble across it on the interwebs, do not do what everyone around you is doing. Unless, of course, you want the state of health and mindset that everyone around you is having. So if people around you are struggling with high blood pressure, high cholesterol, gut issues, autoimmune conditions, cancer, you do not want to be emulating their behaviors. You need to find a better way. Right? So when I look at what creates illness and disease within the body, it's too much chemical and heavy metal toxicity, genetic predispositions, and a poor diet and lifestyle. Too much screen time, not enough time outdoors, not enough quality sleep, not enough quality movement, and boom, boom, boom. If you had to create a recipe for illness, there you go. Just rinse and repeat for years and decades on end. And do not be surprised if you end up with one or multiple chronic health issues. Now, the other scary thing that I see often is many women, before they get pregnant, they don't put any thought whatsoever into the type of diet and lifestyle that they are currently living or their partner is living. And then they have a child, they have a baby, and their baby is born with issues. In fact, I'm going to post this probably on my social media in my stories. But there's somebody in my regenerative health community, her sister had a baby recently, and this poor baby had the worst eczema right from birth. And it was a reflection of his mother's diet and lifestyle, right? So yes, of course, she made all of these changes, but now this poor baby has this eczema. And so this baby had to go on a regenerative health protocol. And thankfully that eczema is gone now. But babies are born in a toxic environment. Everything that is going on within the mother's body before conception and while pregnancy goes into that baby. And this is why oftentimes when I have women message me wanting to get pregnant or dealing with multiple miscarriages, which is very sad, very unfortunate, one of the things that I always encourage them and their partners to do is a regenerative detox protocol where we clean up their diet, clean up their water, start to detox their body, start to reduce the chemical toxic load that is coming into the body, and also start to pull out the chemicals and the heavy metals that are already inside the system, right? And this is something that most Western doctors don't pay attention to, and I would say even a lot of naturopaths don't pay that much attention to. And I can say this from experience because I worked with a bunch of different naturopaths when I was on my own health journey. And nobody talked to me about the quality of my diet. Nobody talked to me about heavy metals. Nobody talked to me about parasites. Nobody talked to me about the quality of my sleep. Nobody talked to me about EMFs or how much radiation I had generally in my life. No one talked to me about trauma or ongoing stress. None of those things were asked by any of the practitioners that I worked with, Western medical practitioners or the alternative, so-called alternative practitioners. And it was my sheer frustration of not wanting to continue to feel sick in my body that drove me to start looking for answers, like real answers, not band-aids, not supplements, not gimmicks, but actually trying to figure out, how can I heal my body? The body can heal itself. What is that magical combination to make that happen? You know, that is why I do what I do. That is why I'm so passionate about it. That is why I create content week after week after week after week, because I would like this message to get out there. Your body is self-healing, but it can only heal if you do the things that actually create health. It's really that simple. And unfortunately, I see a lot of people that are suffering and they don't need to be suffering. And if anything, one of the things that I never stop doing is I never stop learning. And I'm always researching. I'm always trying to figure out, like, okay, how do I make protocols that are going to be more efficient, that are going to, how do we help clean up everyone's water, right? Because let's face it, not everybody has the ability to get a water filtration system on their house. It's just not possible. Maybe they're renting, maybe, and so the drops, it's such an easy solution. Here, just put some drops in your water. You can't get a molecular hydrogen water bottle right now. That's fine. We can still clean up your water. Let's do this. Oh, the issue that I hear so many people tell me about, well, I can't get quality food I'm in a food desert. Okay, all right, I understand. Well, what about growing some sprouts? What about getting together with your community and talking about, like, how can you set up a community garden in the summertime? Is that possible? How about utilizing regeneratively grown superfoods that ship right to your door? They are grown by farmers with like stricter standards than whatever you're buying in the grocery store. Like, I am all about the solutions. I'm like, let's find a solution, because there's no point in complaining about the problem. There are solutions. Solutions exist for absolutely every single problem out there. And especially when it comes to health, one of the things I pride myself on is not only finding solutions, but finding the best solutions. And one of what I love to do is, my brain, like when someone comes to me with a chronic health issue, I try and figure out what is the most efficient way for that person to get healthy. I spent 6 years on medication. And in those 6 years, I tried what I thought was everything to try to get healthy. I tried a lot of things for 6 years that were the wrong things to do. But back then, I wasn't a practitioner. I didn't understand the human body. I didn't really have an accurate education about how the human body works. And that's exactly why I ended up going back to school, because I wanted to understand. I wanted to get it. I wanted to figure out the problem. And once I figured out how the human body works and what needs to happen, like at the foundational level, we must clean up the terrain within the body. We have to put in high quality water, structured water, molecular hydrogen water, if at all it's in someone's budget, great. It's going to make everything so much better, because molecular hydrogen is a selective antioxidant. It hydrates at a deeper level. It reduces inflammation in the body. There's over 2,000 studies on how powerful molecular hydrogen is. But if someone can't do molecular hydrogen, they can at least clean up their water, right? That's step one. High quality structured water, high quality nutrient dense food. That's like step 1 and 2. That alone, those 2 steps alone will actually get your body to start detoxifying and getting rid of things. And then we have to go deeper and look at like what are the heavy metal and the chemical toxic exposures that this person has been subject to, and then let's get that out of the body as well. It's literally like dialing things down, right? Illness and dis-ease comes from chronic and systemic inflammation and toxicity. So we have to look at how can we eliminate that, and then how can we introduce things in the body that are going to help upregulate the system, upregulate healthy genes, create a better environment. And then of course, like step 3 in my book, anytime somebody is dealing with a chronic health issue, step 3 is we must go after the parasites. If there's a chronic health issue within someone's body, there's obviously parasites. And why? Because parasites love to live in acidic, toxic environments. That's what they're made for. And so, we clean up the food, we clean up the water, start detoxing, address the heavy metals, go after the parasites, boom, boom, boom. And then it's just about sticking with those healthy habits. I encourage all my clients to let's get outside, let's move, let's optimize your sleep. What are the things that are stressing you out? How can we shift all that around so that you can have a better mindset, right? And it's as simple as that. It really is as simple as that. And these are the things that I love to cover when I work with people one-on-one, but also what I like to work on and talk about in my program, Elevate. That program is really there designed, and it's like, years and years of everything that I've learned in one program where someone can come in with a autoimmune condition or gut issues, and we can just start to lay this foundation of cleaning up the water, cleaning up the nutrients going into the body, and starting to move the lymph and detoxify the system and allowing the body to heal itself. The body can only heal itself when it's given the proper support. And if that support is not there, then it's like trying to drive a car with no gas in the tank, right? And most people are running around like that. They've got nothing in the tank, and then they're surprised, shocked, stupefied that their body's not working the way it's meant to. And I mark my words, I actually think that most people have never, ever, ever had the experience of feeling how good their body how good it can actually feel to be in their body, because no one around them has experienced that. And they themselves have never experienced it, because if you're living on any variation of a standard American diet and you're following and doing what everyone around you does, then there's no way for you to really tap into your true potential. And I know for myself, it's only when I started to do this work of regenerative detox, and this doesn't mean that I'm in detox all the time. Hell no. I've listened to and I've studied with people who have done this work longer than I have. And one of the things that I've come to realize just from listening to their work and following their research, and also doing my own research on my own body, because my body is like my little container that I can experiment on. What I have come to realize is that because we live in such a toxic environment, and there can be so many levels and layers of stuff that builds up in our body, that it's reasonable to do one intensive regenerative detox protocol a year. That doesn't mean that it lasts months and months. Like the way that I like to do my protocols, like the first regenerative detox protocol I did, helped me to get off thyroid medication and work on my gut and really get my body into a better balance. That initial protocol was 6 months. And then the second deep one that I did was like 21 days. And now it kind of varies. Like I really kind of go with my intuition. I meditate on it. I think about like, okay, what do I want to work on? What do I feel like my body needs to shift? And when the idea comes to me, then I go, okay, all right, that's what I'm going to do. Like this year, I started my year with a 40-day protocol. That was enough then. And now it's interesting because I'm actually getting ready to test something brand new that is so revolutionary that I'm so excited about how it's going to simplify the protocols that I give my clients instead of like over a period of 6 months or 7 months, them having to do like, these complex protocols. It might actually just be 3 things that they repeat for, 6 to 9 months. And then they're just into maintenance. And I say 6 to 9 months because most of the people that I work with have multiple autoimmune conditions. They have gut issues. There's a lot of stuff that's going on, and they've had it for a long time. And so when someone has a condition that is chronic within their body, and they've literally spent their entire life creating this condition, because that's what we do. Like, think of it this way. If you enter into this world, and I talked about this on last week's live, babies are born, and I talked about it on this live. Babies come into the world with toxicity within their system. And then they're exposed to more toxicity. They're exposed to EMFs. They're exposed to toxic chemicals and microplastics. We're breathing in microplastics, whether we like it or not. That's what's happening in the body. And most people, unfortunately, are very, very unaware of this. And then on top of that, a poor diet, a poor lifestyle, poor sleep, and it just starts to accumulate, over the years, over the decades. That's why people get into their 20s, their 30s, their 40s, 50s. Now it seems to be younger and younger people have these chronic health issues. I had a woman reach out to me over the weekend, and her daughter's 37 and she had a stroke. And my brain right away was like, oh, it's possible to fix that. Because the body can regenerate, the body can heal itself. Our body is constantly making new cells. So if we change the inputs, the quality of the water, we reduce the amount of toxic chemicals going into the body, we improve the quality of the food, we get the cells communicating with each other, we restore that cellular function, we get rid of the toxic load that's already in the body, then the body does heal itself. But most people don't believe this because, number one, they've never experienced it. Most people around them haven't experienced it. And most people are not hearing this information, which is why I'm sitting here on YouTube on a Monday afternoon putting this live together, because I want you to hear this information so that you become inspired to take charge of your health. And I can share with you the exact tools to use and the steps to use them in, but you have to apply them. If you choose not to apply them, then there's nothing that will change. I know for myself, and I've learned this just through trial and error. Now I'm more, because I understand how the body works. I live my life a certain way, not because it's a chore, but because I love myself enough to take care of my physical vessel. Because I want to feel good. I want to wake up every day and have energy and vitality and be able to show up for my partner, for my clients, for all of the things that I like to do. I like to show up with love, energy, and vitality. And I know I can't do it if I'm eating fast foods, processed foods, and not sleeping properly and not moving my body and just scrolling on social media. Then I know I'm not going to be at my absolute best. And my desire is to be at my absolute best because I want to be able to show up and help others, right? And so to me, the biggest act of self-love that anyone can do for themselves is to start to look at their life and look at their habits, look at what they're doing, and then start to make changes. Does that mean you're going to be perfect fresh out of the gate? No, probably not. I mean, I had to have a lot of trial and error before I figured it out. And this is also why I share what I share, because I want to simplify it for you. I don't want you to spend 6 years and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, not to mention all the emotional and the mental stress of not feeling good and feeling frustrated and depressed and sad and thinking that this is it, that, there is no other option, when indeed there are options, there are amazing options. Is just about utilizing those options. And I'm not shy about, like, the way that I put together protocols. Like, I'm not shy about getting rid of stuff that I think is redundant or unnecessary. That's why I'm like constantly learning and evolving, because I like to simplify things for myself and for others, because that is going to help you to get to where you want to go. So this is going to feed very nicely into the mindset piece. I woke up today, I wasn't at my best, right? I wasn't at my best. Didn't sleep great. And right away, it impacted my mood right away. And because I always start my days with meditation, I started in meditation, and I could hear the thoughts in my brain, the arguments, but I still did my practice, and I started my day the way that I always start my day, which is meditating first. And then I usually look after my doggos. They get fed. I start to run a molecular hydrogen cycle, and I take my aminos. And as I started to get moving, I thought to myself, this is why we do these practices, right? If you have healthy habits all the time, then when you have a bad day, those healthy habits help you to come back to feeling better more quickly. As humans, as spiritual beings having a human experience, no one's going to have a perfect day all the time. It's impossible. Part of this human experience is to have not good days and to sometimes get upset. But when you have a really strong container of taking care of yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, then that container becomes the safety net that you can always go to. Unfortunately, most people don't have that in place, or they have elements in place, and then when they have a bad day, they stop doing those things and they get into this downward spiral. And this is why everything that I've been talking about since the start of the year, it is the reason that I keep bringing up the mindset piece along with the health piece is you can't separate the two. And I know that in social media world, a lot of people talk about finding your niche and talking just about one thing. But here you are, you're not just your physical body. You have a physical body, emotional body, mental body, spiritual body. All of those elements are you, right? And I would say most people are pretty separated from their spiritual body because they don't have a spiritual practice of any sort. And that actually creates even more lack and separation and despair because they don't have that spiritual practice. When you have a strong spiritual foundation, no matter what is happening in your life, your ability, I'll speak from my own experience. I've had a strong spiritual practice now for a long time. So when stuff goes sideways, I do not despair. Will I get upset? Yes. Will I cry? Possibly. Yeah, that may happen. I may cry, right? And I am okay with that. Crying is okay. Crying is cleansing. And, but I am really good at going to my spiritual practice and getting quiet and meditating and talking to the creator and centering myself, whether it's I go to nature, whether I get on my yoga mat, whether I just pray. But I do not let myself downward spiral even for a day. Doesn't matter what's happened, right? Doesn't matter if somebody I know is sick or someone I know has passed away or and this wasn't always the case. When my hair is driving me just a little crazy today. When my husband passed away, my spiritual foundation was not as strong as it is right now. And I do firmly believe that part of the reason that I have many kind of theories as to why things happen the way that they happened, right? First of all, my husband completed his soul's journey at that juncture. Like it was, if you do not have a spiritual practice, this may sound very strange to you. But one of the things that I have learned is from having a spiritual practice is everything is perfect. Everything is playing out exactly how it's meant to play out. There are no mistakes. And so that's one of my perspectives about his passing, is that he passed exactly the time that he was meant to pass. Then the other perspective that I have is that because of the way that he passed, he had a widowmaker heart attack, and the fact that I ended up with autoimmune issues and adrenal issues and all of these health challenges. I was meant to go through all of those challenges so that I could learn the information that I've learned, so that I can share that information with others. And thankfully, thanks to the power of social media, I can share it in a much more powerful way than even me being able to talk to my friends about this, right? So that's my other perspective on it. My third perspective on it is that because I didn't have a very spiritual practice, yes, I meditated, yes, I did yoga, but I wasn't very spiritually connected to the Creator. I believe that I went through that experience so that I was literally brought to my knees so that I could actually create that connection. And I would not have created that connection at that time any other way had my life not completely imploded, right? So for any challenge that you're going through in your life, there's always multiple ways to look at it. And so when I go through a hard time, when I go through a tough time, I always look at, well, what are the lessons here for me? What do I need to learn? What do I need to understand? What do I need to surrender? How is this helping me to become a better human being? What are the steps that I need to do to evolve myself to be a better human being? And then applying that. So now, even when I have a bad day, even when I wake up and my mood's not right, I right away go to my practices, and because I nourish myself properly, I hydrate myself, I take care of myself on a daily basis. When those not good days come around, I don't do a downward spiral. I'm able to reset myself very quickly. And that really is the benefit and the power of having these kinds of tools in your life. Unfortunately, most people don't take care of themselves. They don't take care of themselves in terms of proper nutrition or hydration or sleep or movement or mindset. You don't do any of this work. And then life happens. Stress comes, whether it's something in terms of work or children or finances or work, like I already said, work or business or whatever it is, when those challenges come, it completely flatlines them, it derails them. And I've had enough flatline experiences in my life, not just my husband's passing, but many other things previous to that, where one of the things that I've learned to do is that I work harder on myself than anything else. I work on myself every single day. Part of that is before I get my booty out of bed, I have a spiritual practice. I already start praying and giving gratitude and working on my mindset, even on days like today when I woke up and I did not feel good. And I wanted to lay in bed. And I was like, nope, we're going to do the things, right? We're going to do the things: meditation, prayer, mindset, movement, nourishing properly, hydrating properly, getting outside, moving the body, giving gratitude, reminding myself of all the storms in life that I have weathered, that I was supported through. That's how you create this. First, you have to create, when times are good, I'm going to end this. When times are good, start taking care of your health. Start taking care of your mindset. If you're already struggling with your health, take care of your health like it's your job, because it is your job. If you can get your physical, mental, and emotional health on track and start to really have a daily practice for yourself, then when stuff goes sideways, you won't do a downward spiral. You'll be able to catch yourself and get back on track, very, very quickly. I remember back in the day before I had any of these practices, and something would happen that would upset me, and I would call all my friends and complain about the problem, just spending more time in the problem. Now, if something happens, most likely, I'm going to mention it to my partner. We're going to have like a 2-minute conversation. And we do this for each other because he also has stuff happen in his world, right? So we might have a 5-minute conversation, and then we stop talking about it, and we just go back to, our practices. Like, I go back to my practice of, yes, I talked to him about it. I talked to him about how I felt this morning after my meditation and as I was getting into my day. And then, he talked to me. It was a 5-minute conversation. And then we were like, okay, now we're moving on. And it can really be as simple as that. It can really be as simple as deciding, because one of my favorite sayings is, where focus goes, energy flows. And because your words have creation power, the more you talk about a problem, the more you keep creating that problem, the more you magnetize other problems towards you. So I'm not saying live in a dream life and don't acknowledge anything. I'm simply saying acknowledge, feel your feelings, because your feelings are legitimate, but then don't dwell. Don't dwell. Allow that to clear out, and now make up your mind of what you actually want to focus on. What do you want to create? How do you want to feel? And then start thinking about that, start speaking that into existence. And you will see, surely, because we create from the 4th dimension, you will see, as you speak that into existence, it will follow suit. Most people don't do that often enough. They spend a lot of time complaining and putting their focus on the wrong things, and they don't put any focus on what they actually want. Anytime someone asks someone, most of the time when people are asked the question, well, what do you want? They'll start talking about all the things they don't want, all the things they don't like, all the problems in the world. And that just keeps creating more of the same. So I would challenge you for 30 days, talk about what you actually want. How do you want to feel? What kind of energy do you want to have when you wake up in the morning? How do you want your body to feel, right? What kind of people do you want to spend your time with? What kind of money do you want to have in your life? Because having money, having currency it's totally legit. You should have currency. Everyone should have abundance. What kind of abundance would you like to have? Start talking about that and start believing in it. And then you will be surprised. Now, this doesn't mean you get to sit on your couch, watch Netflix, and somehow magically all this money is going to land in your lap. What you will notice is that as you start to talk about abundance, as you start to talk about the kinds of relationships that you want to have, what you want to create, you'll start to have opportunities and ideas. And then this is where most people fail the exercise, is they start to get ideas and then they don't do anything. I'll give you one quick example, and then I'm ending this live because this is way longer than I thought I was going to go today. Yesterday, so Friday was my birthday, and I did my best to not be on social media because I spend too much time on social media responding to messages and posting and things like that. So I was like, okay, I'm not responding to any messages for a couple days. I'm just going to take a break and chill. So yesterday I was like, all right, I need to respond to people. So when I opened up my Instagram app, I saw somebody's name that I hadn't seen in a long time. And I was a part of a business mastermind, like when I started my business, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years ago. 7 years ago, I think I was in this group and I was just starting out. So I sent this woman a message. I was like, hey, how's it going? I haven't seen your profile in a long time. Are you still with such and such group? And she messaged me back. She's like, oh, yeah, I am. And the reason that I sent her that message was I'm thinking of making some shifts in my business. And how interesting that as soon as I'm thinking about that, an organization that I've worked with in the past came up on my feed. Like, how serendipitous. I didn't just ignore it. I sent her a quick message. Now, will that go anywhere? I don't know. I don't know what that organization is up to. I don't know if it's in line with where I'm at in terms of my business, but it was an interesting thing that popped up. And so that's something that I always pay attention to is when I have an idea, when I have a thought, I always pay attention to what starts to drop into my 3D reality. What are the conversations that I start to have? Who are the people that I start to see? What are the things that pop up on social media? What are like, the podcasts? Like if I open up YouTube, what are the podcasts that I see? I'm always like an open kind of like I kind of always have my antenna out to see like, okay, universe, this is what I'm wanting to do. What do you got? And then when the universe says, well, how about this? I go, all right, let me check that out. Let me see. Let me send this person a message. And that's all I need to do. That doesn't mean that anything's going to come of it. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But I definitely don't sit on my booty and just complain about life. Right. So I hope that this helps you. Whoa, this was a way longer live than I thought it was going to be. But yeah, if you made it to the end, you're amazing. Thank you for being a part of my online community. If you are seeing this video and you're not following this channel, please follow this channel because the only reason I'm sharing this information is I really would love for more people to follow and to practice these things that I'm sharing, not only on the health side, but also on the mindset side. This is information that I wish I had known when I was at my sickest and most desperate. So I'm putting this information out there so it's at your fingertips. Check out the resources. Go to my website. There's a blog. I put out new content every single week. You can join my newsletter. I send out a newsletter every single week. Of course, I do a live every single week here on YouTube as well. You can follow me on other social media places like Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all that kind of stuff. And I have my program Elevate, which is really literally about helping people to elevate their mind, body, and spirit, getting their health back on track, getting, all of the, if someone is dealing with chronic health issues, getting to the root causes of those chronic health issues with the best tools possible and available. And with the way that I work is when I start, just to kind of clarify. So for example, I'm going to be testing something new. I'm going to be testing it for the next, 4 months. If I feel that this is something that is powerful, that's going to help people to get healthier even faster and more efficiently and more economically, then I will adjust my protocols within Elevate accordingly because I want to make sure that I'm giving the best and most current information out there. And so that's the cool thing about being a part of that community is that you get access to the latest, the greatest, the cutting edge of whatever it is that I'm doing. And it just helps to amplify and improve your health more efficiently because I spent a lot of time sick and medicated and had a lot of frustration, spend a lot of money, and I would like for others to avoid that hassle if at all possible. So, in the program is where I share the best of the best. And you can, of course, check out my links as well. Everything that I work with are things that I've tested, that I've vetted, and it's all the best stuff out there. Otherwise, I wouldn't use it myself personally. I definitely wouldn't recommend it at all either. So I hope that this video has been an absolute wealth of information, from hydration to health to mindset. And feel free to tag anyone who needs to see this. If you have questions, you can, of course, put them in the comments. Follow the channel if you don't already do so. And I will see you in next week's live. Bye for now. Peace.